Brodes Media.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Open Ice Hits. We have the Stanley Cup Finals set. I know we were a little all over the place over that semifinals, but we're back in action. We're ready to rock and roll. Before we kick into gear here, Durso, how was your little trip?
It was good. Good to get away for a little bit. It was different, because of the fact that no one's done much of anything like it for over a year. So it was different to get away and feel like you were just able to do almost whatever you wanted to at this point. So it's been good. And it's funny, we're recording in the middle of like a crazy week for me. I did vacation on the first half. Technically it qualified as my honeymoon since I didn't really have a honeymoon last year. We're having our 1 year anniversary on Sunday. That's when our wedding reception is. So it's an ass backwards way of doing a lot of stuff, but to thank you COVID for that, I guess. But nonetheless, it's all happening and it's going to be great. And somehow in the middle of it, I still managed to keep up with some of these games, even while on vacation.
That's the most important part, right? Don't let her hear this episode. Yeah, don't let her listen to this. It doesn't matter.
She saw me watching the games in the hotel when we were on vacation and stuff. So
that's amazing. I love it.
On occasion, I missed a couple of them in full, but kept an eye on the phone and things like that. So.
No, that's awesome. Good for you guys to, make the most of it because it's not easy. It's a crazy world out there. But you know what else is crazy? This hockey. All right, it's very wild. We had a Game 7 last night, and I guess that's where we should basically begin. I'll be honest with you, a little bit of a snooze. I was thinking about the game all day long and the fact that it was a 1-0 game with a shorthanded goal. I just wish there was maybe 9 goals involved and we're going, what's happening here? Something crazy. But we know the way the Islanders play. It's going to be a game that's probably not the sexiest in the world. And look, when you have a power play and you allow the opposing team to score that way, I texted you at the time, it just can't happen. It's deflating. And I thought that, it crushed the souls. It's Game 7. You know how important it is to score first. I think the statistics they threw out there were somewhere around 70 to 75% chance of winning when you score first. So it was just crushing. It was.
Yeah, it was. And there's not much to say about it. I think the Islanders got a taste of their own medicine in this game. I think that Tampa played that shutdown game, especially in the third period and in the closing moments. I mean, it finally started to pick up a little bit. But how many times did they say, "Oh, the Islanders are pushing a little bit," and then they wouldn't get anything? There's no shot generation there, and a lot of block shots, a lot of. It made me think a lot about the Flyers Islanders Game 7 from last playoff, because I think the Flyers finished with like 16 shots on goal in the game, and you're going, well, maybe they emptied the tank going in because of everything they had to do to get to the Game 7 in the first place. It took a lot for the Islanders to be there, and they got absolutely demolished in Game 5, then find a way to win Game 6. They were down 2-0 in the game. They come back. They win in overtime off a turnover, and now you have to channel that into Game 7. And if you're not really ready to go or getting it going from the very start of the game, it's going to be hard to catch up, and even that one goal is what makes it difficult to catch up. So I'm not surprised by the result. As a matter of fact, it's exactly what I had. I had Tampa in 7. Turned out that way. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Islanders won the series. I kind of actually secretly, I was hoping for an Islander win just because I saw a ton of people on Twitter not wanting a Montreal New York Islander final. And I'm like, I'm just here for the combustion at that point. Like, just give me what nobody seems to want and watch how good it could be. But this will be good either way. I think, for Tampa, there's this feeling to me that this is their best shot to keep this going, to win another cup, because we all know the cap situation, and that's not something that should be held against them, because it's the way that the rules are written. If they can find a way to do it legally within the way the rules are written in the CBA and all that, then go ahead and do it. There's nothing wrong with that. But what's coming next year. You just know what's coming. They're not going to be able to keep this group together under the salary cap being flat the way it is. So this might be their best shot to repeat as a Stanley Cup champion here and keep this thing going and win more than one cup under this core before it has to change a lot because of the way the cap is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's something that I definitely wanted to hit on as we move forward here is, how do you feel about it? But I agree with you where it's not their fault that they can maneuver around the way the rules are written. So they're just doing it based off of what the league allows them to do. Now, it's frustrating. I don't love it, but it's not like they are doing anything wrong. They're just working around such a flawed system, if you will, and I don't necessarily blame them for doing it, even though that I don't love it. But I will say, going back to how the game played out, when it comes to the Islanders, you know you got to weather the storm in that type of atmosphere. So after the first period, where the score is 0-0 and there's no goals yet, you think advantage Islanders because the first 5, 6, 7 minutes, there's going to be waves of intensity. The crowd's going to be electric. You just have to make sure that you limit those opportunities. You come out 0-0, and they did that. So then when you get the power play, I'm really like, wow, this is perfect. This is literally perfect if you're the Islanders. And then within a blink of an eye, I'm like, no, that's not perfect. Here's Yanni wide open. I don't know how he gets that wide open, like you're on the half wall there trying to win a battle for a puck, and before you know it, here's the pass in the wide open slot. Bang, right over that glove side. It's just crazy. Here's the stat, though. When I saw this stat, I almost fell over in my chair. Vasilevsky, fourth consecutive series clinching shutout. I'd say that's good.
You think? It's funny because I really honestly watching Game 6, and I know I'm going backward, but watching Game 6, Tampa gets a 2-0 lead, and I honestly thought right there, I'm like, they're not scoring. They're not scoring. It's over, and he's going to get another shutout, and it's going to be 4 series in a row, and that's it. It's over. He's going to do it again. Same story. And then they got one, and then they were pushing, and they got another one, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe not now all of a sudden. But, I don't know if there was a point in this game where it really felt like, maybe it's because it was 1-0 the whole way, where it feels like he's got it the whole way. I didn't quite get that feeling. Like you kind of kept waiting for something. It wasn't going to be a special teams thing. There was only one penalty called in the whole game, and ironically enough, it wasn't a power play goal. It was a shorthanded goal that decides the game. But I'm never surprised by anything Vasilevsky does. I've told you this before. He's the best goalie in the league right now, and it's really hard to say. And it's hard to say that with the other guy who's going to be on the other side of this Stanley Cup final, because it is an elite matchup. It might be one of them. And I think I even texted you. I'm like, is there a word for beyond elite at this point that we can describe this goalie matchup with? So I still think Vasilevsky's the best in the game right now. And it's probably because of the fact that when you combine what he's doing and his cup win, you got to give him that too, the cup win from last year, with his age, because he's pretty much just entering the prime of his career, and he's already there, and he's at that Carey Price level. Carey Price is still chasing that one thing he doesn't have. He's won a lot of things outside of that, but he's still chasing that one thing. And that's why I think the dynamic on the other side is going to be great for this final, because you almost have to wonder, is this his best shot? Is this the best chance? And is there anybody on that team? I don't think there is anyway. Is there anybody else on that team? Maybe Shea Weber, but anybody else who's more deserving of one than him, and that's what I think is going to get a lot of people up for their success, is that he does deserve one. I mean, he's done everything else. He's, you think about Canadian Olympic teams. He's like one of those guys for them. And, you always put him in the spotlight for those things, but he's never even been to a cup final. That's how crazy. And that feels crazy to say, like, to think that the best shot that they've even had over the last 10 years, 11 years is that year in 2010 when they get to the conference final, and he's not even the guy yet because it's too early for him. He had some early success. Now he's struggling. So it's not him. He's not going to be the guy. And I think it's ironic that Yaroslav Halak is still playing at this point too. I mean, both guys from 10, 11 years ago have roles on teams that are successful in the playoffs. That's crazy to me, but this is really, I think, Carey Price's best shot to win a cup and to get there and to reach the peak of the mountain at this point, where you get over everything. You've done everything you can in your career. It's very Ovechkin-like from a few years ago, where here's a guy who everybody wants to see win one.
Yeah, I'm rooting all in. I'm all in on the Canadiens. They're like my favorite team, though. I might get a tattoo on my neck of the Habs logo. I'm rooting for them. I'm going crazy for them. I know it's the whole, at this point, Canada. Yeah, Canada. Because there's a lot of U.S. fans that say they want the Lightning to win because, well, they don't want the cup to go to Canada. But I don't care. Watching Suzuki, watching the two-way center. Like, come on, baby. Come on, baby, with that work ethic. 200-foot game. I'm all stoked for it. But I do want to touch, before we move to the Habs side of things, with Tampa Bay. I'm putting myself in their shoes, and I just wonder, is there an element to this where, yes, you won the Stanley Cup last year, but And as much as we said at the time, it's an uncontrollable, no fans, so it's not as if you could take that championship away or devalue it by any means because they did win the cup. But I wonder if they look at this now as something where if they were to win it, they could almost take a deep breath and go like, so now it's not when you look back after your career's over, yeah, I won a Stanley Cup, but it happened the one year where there was a play-in tournament and there were no fans. And I'm not trying to devalue that championship because I'm never going to take away those champions from the record books knowing the uncontrollable that happened with the pandemic. But, I mean, there's got to be some side of it if just human nature comes in and, like, human emotions where it's, if they were to win, it's like a deep breath where, well, whew, now I can at least say, like, I did it when it was normal, too, or something of that nature. What do you think?
Yeah, so what you're saying is that there's two sides to this because on one hand, you had the Stanley Cup awarded in Canada last year when no Canadian team was playing, so you could have that, but you also have a team that finally won a cup with this core group, hadn't won in, 16 years? It was 2004 when they won, so this new core with Stamkos and Hedman and all those guys who waited a long time to get there, hadn't won. And now you go and finally do it after 5 years of being a team that people talk about as a cup contender, and no one's there to watch it. So you either are going to get the reward of the team that wins finally gets to do it with fans in the building in some capacity. I mean, not as much as if it's in Montreal, of course, but, you know what you're getting at that point. They're going to pack a building with fans to watch it if it's on the road or to see a game in person.
It feels more, and I hate to say this because, like I said, I don't want to look at the past as if it doesn't count, but it feels more legit to do it in a season like this compared to how the last year's season played out. It feels more like a real legitimate cup run.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, the fans being in any building right now makes it feel more normal, for sure. I mean, and you're right. Like, we're not taking away from what they did a year ago. That's a legitimate. It was probably one of the toughest runs that anybody ever had because they all just up and leave. They're not home anymore. They had to go to a different country for the most part and play and live in this bubble and not be able to do anything and see their families and anything like that. I mean, like, isn't it nice now to watch? And I'm not. I can't speak for the Tampa game specifically. I don't remember seeing too many. Like, maybe it's because it's a full building and that's why it's a little harder to pick out. But when Montreal wins in overtime in Game 6 and goes to the Stanley Cup Final, they're able to put a camera on Carey Price's wife as they're watching. Look, let's watch them celebrate this. They're actually there to celebrate it the way that they should instead of, a handful made it because we can't have that many people. Like, how many players from Tampa last year had to get on their phones immediately after the game and be FaceTiming their families to just say, like, look what we did. Look how exciting. Even the team owner wasn't even there because he had to be back in Tampa. Things like that. You can't even, you want that back. You need to have that back where everything is the way it normally is, and definitely need to have fans to watch that celebration. It was weird to watch them just kind of take a small twirl and go, okay, I'm going to just go for a couple seconds because there's nobody there to watch. I mean, only so many people were there that only a handful of players went, I can skate over toward the section where my family's sitting and show them I'm holding the Stanley Cup right now. It changes it so much. So, yeah, I definitely think that this year, no matter who wins, it's going to be quite the celebration because of the fact that there's normalcy again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And a name, by the way, that we should have mentioned by now after that Game 7 performance. How about McDonough? What year is this? Is he on the New York Rangers? What year is this? Are you kidding me? He had a nice day at the office. I mean, the way that they highlighted him all throughout, doing the little things as a stay-at-home defenseman in my prime, okay? You got to appreciate the little things out there. And I'll tell you what, I thought Ryan McDonough deserves a nice little how do you do from us.
How do you do? There we go.
Yeah.
We're back to that.
A nice little how do you do.
He had a great game.
It was a great day at the office.
And you know what? I think so often we just assume that that's Hedman. And, yeah, I don't think Victor Hedman was the best defenseman on the ice in that Game 7. That doesn't mean he didn't play well. It's just he wasn't the best defenseman on the ice. It was Ryan McDonough, for sure. But they get it. That this is what they get, though. They get something from somebody different, it seems like, all the time. Maybe the exception is Braden Point, who seemed to score in just about every game he played until that Game 7. But nonetheless, you're getting it from everywhere. I mean, and And you don't always it's nice that they don't always as a team they don't always have to get the goal from Stamkos or Kucherov or whatever. Like they don't need to lean on one line here. Like Yanni Gourde doesn't score every game, so he gets the goal this time. And I think in Game 6 it was Cirelli, and Cirelli had broken what they say a 9-game goalless drought going into that or something like that. Like it doesn't happen every game for some of these guys, and yet they find a way to step up in the biggest moments. What I loved honestly about the shorthanded goal? Someone put it out there that Gourde scoring, that's an undrafted free agent from 14 with assists to 2 different third-round picks because the assists were Cirelli and Killorn, and they're 2 third-round picks. This team is built perfectly. I mean, if you need to define it, if you need to look it up in a textbook somewhere of how to build a hockey team, that's how to do it. And it's not all one group of management. It's been, primarily it's Steve Yzerman, but we look at this whole process of how they built this thing, and they've done it right from start to finish.
And I watched Cooper celebrate afterwards, and I'm thinking, this guy almost got canned 2 years ago, and here he is ready to maybe possibly go win his second Stanley Cup in a row. But
do you know what I saw about him that was really good too? Someone tweeted something about how his highest level of playing was like high school or something like that.
I love that. Ken Hitchcock, same thing. Right. All these people that think you have to play to be a good coach
exactly.
is a joke.
And he's probably the best coach. He's one of the best coaches. I don't know if it's debatable for me because I like Barry Trotz a lot. I think Barry Trotz is up there.
I don't think
Cooper's
he's
up
in
there.
I don't think he's in the top tier of coaches. I think he's one tier from the best coaches in the league tier, but that's still a good spot to be.
Is he in the best? Is he in the elite tier then at that one step up you want that you're not giving him yet? Is he if he gets 4 more wins?
No, because I'll be honest with you, I'm big. This is not just a hockey team.
Yeah, is it because the team has? Yeah,
yeah. I could probably stand behind the bench and be 4 right. So, and that's with all due respect. I get where you're coming from, and this is why I value Barry Trotz so much because I sit there and I look at guys. I go, these guys weren't effective in their previous stops. Now they are effective. How does that work? You got a really good coach. I feel that way about Trotz. I feel that way about Joel Quenneville. Those are guys I feel that about. And I would even say, he's not actively coaching right now, but Ken Hitchcock's a guy like that too, who you go, he gets something out of his players. That's just it. And it's not always the most, it's not the best team on paper all the time, but you get the most out of them. That's the difference. So, yeah, but I still like him as a coach. Don't get me wrong. And I wonder if this is a good time to transition into the whole coaching situation for Montreal while we're at it, because that's a story. Yeah, we can. I do want to ask you this, though. Would you have touched the cup? Because they touched the trophy. I mean, they touched the trophy. You know what? I don't believe in it, and I think it's all garbage.
I say pick it up.
With that being said, oh, Durso, you savage. With that said, just so no one could say anything afterwards, I'm not touching it. So it's not because I believe in it. It's because I just don't want anyone to actually talk about it. Exactly. So I would just stay free, but kudos to them. Kudos to them.
I mean, do you win trophies to just stand there and look pretty with it or whatever, or not so pretty or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You win a trophy so you can celebrate with it. So pick the thing up.
Yeah, but what if it costs you your Stanley Cup, Durso? Oh, you selfish. You're a selfish player. Jesus. All right, so anyway, the Canadiens.
I'm saying pass it around. I'm saying everybody get their hands on the thing, not just one guy.
Yeah, but you're too focused on the moment. Too focused on the moment instead of the big picture here of hoisting Lord Stanley.
Okay, so it's because you haven't won anything yet, so don't bother yet. You want the next one. I got you. Look, I'm right there with you. You want the big prize at the end of it, and it's the toughest one to win, and it's the best trophy in all of sports, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You are wrong. You selfish.
All right, so the Canadiens. Wow, you mentioned the head coach was a weird spot. The goalie coach situation earlier in the year, possibly firing their GM earlier in the year after. Remember, they started off the season one of the hottest teams in hockey. Then they dip off because they come back to reality a little bit. Are they going to fire their GM? Are they not? Carey Price, who is he? What are they doing? I mean, this organization was a disaster. We're gonna scratch all of our young players, and then now your young players are helping you with they're scoring all the goals in big moments. What the hell? I love it though. I'll be honest with you. I am actively cheering for all of the Montreal Canadiens to perform well. Like this is like probably one of the most enjoyable teams I've watched in a while. That's how much I'm loving them playing right now.
Did you hear the question that Luke Richardson got after Game 6 about all the things that the team had gone through over, and he came right back with, "You sure that's it?"
I actually didn't hear that.
No, it was really funny because they went through everything. You've had injuries, you had a COVID situation. The coach got fired halfway through the year. Now your coach has COVID. Well, that's everything like this. And he sits there and goes, "You sure that was everything?" And he goes, "No, that wasn't everything, but but really, they've been through hell and back at this point, to get through this season and they did get off to a good start, but then it was all the questions about the coach. They did fire the coach, and I, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it? It was Claude Julien got fired and Kirk Muller got let go too, and Muller was the one who guided them through a decent run with the playoff series against the Flyers last playoff, where they were actually winning some games after losing game 1 and then losing Claude Julien for the rest of the series and all that. So you fire that guy too. So now you're left with what's behind of that. And then Ducharme gets COVID too. And now he's not able to coach. So here comes Luke Richardson. What a bench, by the way. Luke Richardson, Alex Burrows, and Sean Burke. What a bench. I mean, to include all those former players. And don't get me wrong, I think they're doing a great job filling in. And I think that, quite honestly, somebody should pay attention to Luke Richardson as a potential head coaching candidate.
Well, it's not going to be Seattle.
I know.
How about that hire?
Okay, well, you know what I hear you. Do you want to know what I don't understand?
Dave Axtell! What?
What I truly don't understand how Rick Tocchet doesn't have a job right now. That's what I don't understand. And Arizona's one of the teams without a coach, and he's not going back there, obviously. So what?
If
I'm
the Flyers, hey, AV, thanks for all your time here.
Well,
Rick,
that's not going to happen, and we know
I know.
it, but
damn.
But
anyway,
that's what surprised me. I thought for sure that when Gerard Gallant got hired by the Rangers, that meant Rick Tocchet was going to be the first coach of the Seattle Kraken. That's what I thought. And instead, it's Dave Hakstol.
Oh, Dave Hakstol! Watch, he's going to go win the cup in year 1.
No, I don't think they're winning the cup in year 1. But
how dare I say that?
No, but I turned. I said if true to form, if everything holds true to form, Seattle will win a cup in the first 5 years of their existence. If everything holds true to form.
Well, I can't have that happen with Dave Hakstol, so I'm going to.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. If everything holds true to form the way that we know it, I mean, for goodness sake.
Nobody understands unless you're from, because
I know.
if you didn't experience that.
Eric Gustafson's in the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, but you know what? That is actually absurd.
He's playing regular minutes.
Well, I saw he averages around 9 minutes per game,
but he's still on their top
You're
power
right.
play.
He
and
is
that's
playing.
what I like, and couldn't get into their lineup for anything during the last part of the regular season. Now he's a regular, he's in the lineup every night.
Yeah, that's actually
Stanley Cup Final.
You know what? The difference is you got Carey Price and Shea Weber and all those other players to help him out on the decor where he didn't have that with the Flyers. God, I hated Eric Gustafson's face.
Now, in fairness, I get we've had conversations Flyer related back and forth through text. If anything, if you're watching Carey Price this season and what he's doing now at this stage of his career, I wouldn't be worried about Carter Hart at that point in time because it was year 2 for Carter Hart. You know how year 2 went for Carey Price? Kind of the same, and he continues to be one of the best. The one save he made, third period, I think, of Game 6, just shoots the leg out from out of nowhere. That was brilliant.
I thought he was a little shaky, early that third period where closeout game, Montreal, can they do it? I thought there were some moments where
and they tied it. That's the other
shaky.
thing too, and they tied it. So you're going, here comes the Vegas push. And he was making saves like that all over the place. It was outstanding. And that's how good he is.
It was the shoulder save on that beauty right before the game winner. That really
what's funny? Wow. And I texted you about this a little bit, but I put it on Twitter as well. He makes the save, and the puck just shoots back out into almost the middle of the defensive zone for Montreal at that point. So they're going to pick it up and go. And there's 4 guys there, and I just go, there's numbers, there's trouble.
Beautiful rush.
Now, it's funny because I went back and I watched it, and you being a defenseman, who was it? I think it was Martinez, actually. It might have been Martinez who was the one who bit too early. He's got to play that like a 2-on-1 for the 2 guys on the left, especially if they're on the right, I should say, especially if the puck's going to go to the left eventually. Because if the puck's going to go to the left, you had another guy there for support, and he had to draw to the middle because you jumped too early.
Yeah.
So it shot everything out of line, and that's how somebody ends up that wide open on the left side.
It was a tough
play to play, but
I thought the angle, though, like, I'm not going to sit here and – it was a good puck movement. It was good driving the net. I mean, it was everything perfectly to allow that to happen. But, you could make that save. Like, it was like if you're a defenseman and that's the shot you get off the rush, I get the puck movement moves the goalie, so you're kind of moving in the crease. But it's not as if that was legitimate, insane, grade A, wide open in the slot type scoring chance. You know what I mean, though?
Sure, yeah. And it's not like...
But in the NHL, that much space coming off of a pass to
is it possible, too, that with the puck movement being over the middle for so much of that until basically the very end, that as everybody comes together, his two defensemen in front of him kind of converge to the center of the ice like that he loses track of it for a split second, so he can't get to his right quick enough, and that's probably what it is. It happens so quickly. I mean, it takes all of 3 seconds for this to move forward. And as soon as Deno starts to move with some speed to try to attack the one defenseman, now it turns into a 2-on-1, and it leaves no choice. Whoever it was, I can't remember who it was. It might have been White Cloud, but drifts to the center now because he has to pick up the puck carrier. Because what is he going to do if he doesn't pick him up? Then Deno's walking in on a breakaway.
He's so underrated. I mean, he's the X factor, which is crazy. It's what are we talking about here? Suzuki, Caulfield, who, by the way, dude, this kid is a stud. He's franchise changing type of talent. That's what he is. He's franchise changing.
Now, before I jump into the kids, though, I do want to make one more point on Philip Danault because the pizza thing is cracking me up, by the way.
You love it. I saw you tweeting about the pizza thing.
Well, listen, this is what I love about teams that get this far is he's going to do his presser after game 6 with Cole Caulfield. So Caulfield's already sitting at the podium waiting, and here comes Philip Danault with the pizza, and he's got a slice for himself and a slice for Cole Caulfield. And Caulfield's laughing hysterically, and you can just already sense that's a tight room. That's a loose group. They're having fun. They're at a spot where, because the truth of the matter is they know they are playing with complete house money this one because nobody thought they'd be there. So they're going, no pressure. We're here and nobody thought we'd be here. And we're going to try to keep this thing going. We're just having fun doing it. And nobody's worried about it. Like, actually, it puts a lot of, not pressure on Tampa Bay in this final, but Tampa Bay had expectations. They could repeat this year, And I'm sure that everybody else felt that way. The Islanders had to feel that way a little bit. They were in the Final Four a year ago. Vegas has to feel that way because it's like you've come close, but you can't close it. Can't get to that level. You haven't even been to the final since the first year. And that's not to knock them. I even said give them a ton of credit. They've been there. They've been to the conference final, the semifinal, however you want to label it from here on out, 3 out of 4 times in their entire history as a franchise. They're doing it right. But nonetheless, that this is the only team that's left, or that was left going to the 4 that were left, that had no reason to have any pressure about how far they made it or where they should be going. They were already further than anybody expected. And that's the looseness of this group, is when you see stuff like this, that it's turned into a gag to an extent, where it started with just the first one. Hey, Toronto, we beat Toronto. I'm coming in and I'm having pizza. Then he comes in after it. Then it's the Winnipeg series. We just swept the Winnipeg Jets. I'm coming in. I'm having pizza as I do my media, all that stuff. Now he's bringing in a slice for his teammate. This is funnier.
I'm looking here at the series to see what is, because as much as I love what we have here, there is a fear that the power of the Tampa Bay Lightning
is just going to run this series. Yeah.
Right. And the problem is I can feel that way, but I felt that way about the Canadiens in every series so far, and they keep winning. So why would this play out any differently? Well, at some point, the talent on the Tampa Bay side, you think, could possibly be too much. So I'm just kind of looking here to see what the series spread is. I'd imagine Tampa Bay is extremely favored.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was, if you're talking about the betting odds or whatever,
odds.
I saw it last night on Twitter. I think it's like minus 270 or something like that.
For the series for Tampa Bay?
Yes. And
that's not as high as I thought it would be, which gives Montreal a better chance.
Yeah, Montreal was a plus 240, I think.
Okay. I mean, it's a little on the one side, of course, but
sure it is. Of course.
It's not as high. It's not plus 350, plus 375, or minus 375 or something of that nature. So it gives the Canadiens a chance. And who knows? They win game 1. You start seeing the numbers move around. Things start changing.
It's funny you say it the way you did, too, when you were talking about yes, Tampa's going to be favored, but we felt that way about Montreal against Vegas, how Vegas would be probably favored big time. And I thought it was in my notes. It's not. I probably tweeted it out after game one because they lost game one. Or maybe it wasn't game one. Maybe it was game two, whatever it was. I'm like, they can hang, though. They just proved it. They can hang with Vegas. And if you can hang with Vegas, you might be able to hang
Well, what
with
the hell happened with Vegas? Because guess what? Their defensemen were scoring all the damn goals. And remember, we praised, I forget what game it was, we praised their depth scoring. And if you could get 2 goals out of your fourth line, you're going to win that hockey game. And they couldn't get anything. They could not score at all with their forwards. It was all their defensemen. The hell was going on with Vegas? Is that credit Montreal for the style of play?
Certainly a little bit, but I mean, I'm just looking down really quick. I'm like, I feel like I wrote down Alex Petrangelo's name a lot, and I wrote Alec Martinez a lot, and it's like, somebody else do something, please.
Yeah,
no
doubt.
Real. And it was funny because, you know what, as I'm scrolling through the notes and things like that, game 3 is a turning point for me because after I go through everything and I go, Nicolas Watt strikes first in that game. Caulfield gets it back. Petrangelo scores again. So now Vegas leads again in the game. And I sit there and go, Vegas had a 30-8 shot advantage through 2 periods. And it felt like from there that Montreal got it going. They had a better third period. They got the game tied up. And it was a horrible play behind the net by Marc-Andre Fleury. But that right there is the turning point because that gave them the chance to go into overtime. And then in overtime, they were hungrier. They saw the opportunity, and they found a way to win that game. And it's crazy how that turns the whole thing around. And it leads to a lot of other stuff, too. A lot of, that was when Robin Lehner got back into the series at that point in time. So, like, now you're almost second-guessing yourself. Do you not stick with Fleury as you did throughout the entire playoff run so far because of that mistake behind the net? What do you do? And I think it changed a lot for them. I think everything got into their heads a little bit from there because it was now that they're trailing 2-1. It's not coming as easily as maybe some people thought. Now you've got to find a way to win 3 more out of the final 4 games that are left in the series, and they did win game 4 to their credit, and it was in overtime, and they had to tie the game in the third period. But from there, it just didn't feel like it was that kind of thing. Like game 5, they were never really in, and then game 6 was just, I think it was the atmosphere to an extent. The fact that you're in Montreal and they know they can close it out, and that held a big place in that somehow,
A young team being able to close out a game like that at home, that's huge because you go back to Vegas, different type of beast, that atmosphere, those fans. You're young. We talked about it. That's something that scares me as a fan, someone watching sports in general.
Yeah.
Close out at home knowing that if you lose, you're going back to the opposing team's arena. That's almost must win, even though it's not must win, but it's in that category to shut the door with the young team. They got the perfect mix. They really do.
Yeah.
Veteran goalie, Shea Weber kind of rejuvenating his career. The young guns up front. Dude, Cole Caulfield.
But the young guns up front combined with your Eric Stahls, Corey Perry.
Yeah. Corey Perry, another guy. Yeah, Corey Perry, another guy he's not flying under the radar, but maybe deserves more talking points because of his style of play and all. But I'll tell you what, when you watch the little things of Cole Caulfield, like that goal, that short side goal that was going around after, that was game 6's goal. When
he chips the puck around too.
Chips it to himself and then utilizes his speed, torches the defenseman, has no chance in hell, rips it short side. He can score from so many angles, and he creates those chances. How many breakaways does this kid get? I mean, all these scoring chances, it all stems from the way that he does things prior to the scoring chance. He sets them up himself. So it's the instincts, the IQ, knowing when to break in the defensive zone. We watched Travis Konechny get benched because 5-on-5, he's standing at the far blue line waiting for a breakout pass, while Cole Caulfield waits for that moment to pounce at the right time to have that support. Bang, there he goes flying. I mean, he could do it forehand, backhand. He's got the skill set. This kid is an absolute star in the making. He's 20 years old, and I'm just jealous as hell. That's why I am jealous as hell, because I looked at this. 72 goals in 1 year. I'll never get over that. 72 goals in one season. That's not even a thing.
I know. Where's the tweet that I had? Because I put it out there. I'm like, so the thing about the Montreal Canadiens right now is that they have, as a team collectively, they have a charm right now because nobody thought they'd be there, right? Like everybody loves that underdog story anyway. And then you sit there and I go, I find that their charm to be, I don't know who the star player on this team is necessarily. I can go, Carey Price obviously is. And Shea Weber was one of the best defensemen in the league probably, 5-6 years ago. And then over time, lost it a little bit. He's rejuvenated his career. He's never going to be back to the Hedman level again, but he's up there. He's definitely still, to me, he's still a top 15 in the league. No question. Maybe borderline top 10. But you go through with it and you go, those are the only two names that really stand out. I'm not going to sit here and go back to 2007 and say Corey Perry is a superstar in the league. He's a good role player as a veteran now. And I'm not going to go back to 2006 to 2009 or whatever it was and say Eric Stahl with the Hurricanes, he was a superstar. He's not that player anymore. They're in the twilight of their careers at this point. And Toffoli was building that as a member of the Kings and all that type of stuff. So you start to look, and I go, and I don't really feel like they're young guys. I don't feel like Nick Suzuki's a superstar. He's a really good player. He's growing into more and more of a complete player every year. But is he a superstar? It's a little early to call him that. Same thing with Kotkaniemi. It's good player. You're building it. With Kotkaniemi, I'm almost sitting there going, I finally am starting to see why, because I almost didn't understand how he went third in the draft ahead of Brady Tkachuk and Quinn Hughes. Those guys went after him, and I'm going, how? I don't even know much about this guy. I know what Quinn Hughes is doing. I know what Brady Tkachuk's doing. How are they behind him somehow? I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to understand it. And you almost don't want to admit Cole Caulfield is a star in the making this early, because he's got 10 regular season games and a playoff run, 25 total games to his name to this point in the NHL. And he's 20 years old. He's only 5'7", 162 pounds. And you're going, this little guy who, again, same thing. And we got to stop with this stuff in this league with this, just because you're 5'7" and 162 pounds and don't measure up to these other guys and things like that, because this isn't the only shorter guy or, not as sizable guy that does this stuff. Braden Point's only 5'10", and he went in the third round.
DeBrincat is super tiny. He's 5'8", I think.
He actually is listed at 5'10", believe it or not.
Wow, really?
But you know what? I think to some degree, the heights are also done by you add the skate height to it a little bit. So
dude,
these guys,
kidding me?
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly.
I was 6'1", 195. No way, that's what I was.
Okay, there you go. But you look at these guys and you sit there. So what does that make Cole Caulfield then? Is Cole Caulfield really a 5'5" guy who just adds the 2 inches?
Probably.
Whatever, or whatever. But at the same time, I'm hating this narrative so much, that we just because here, another guy who he's not even on a playoff team and he's doing it really well. Alex DeBrincat was passed over in the entire first round because he was too small. Enough of this stuff. These guys go out and they can score.
Durso, do you do drugs? I mentioned that's who I meant.
Did you? I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Braden Point.
Oh, okay. Because when you said 5'10", I'm like, what? I
said Braden Point. I said Braden Point at the same time you said DeBrincat, so I didn't hear you say DeBrincat.
I'm sitting here am I going nuts? Am I doing drugs?
Because I said Braden Point, because Braden Point got passed over by the entire league
You're right,
2 times.
You're right.
And he's just who was the other guy I looked up? Jonathan Marchessault is only 5'8" too, or 5'7" or 5'9". That's what he is. And I'm like, here's another, and he went undrafted, and you're going. For a little bit now, he kind of, again, we just talked about Vegas cooling off with some of those other scores. He kind of cooled off in that series. But before that, how many games in a row did he score? 5?
Yeah, but you know what the difference is when you talk about, because you're right. You mentioned Suzuki doesn't pop as much as Caulfield, and Kotkaniemi, same thing, didn't pop. The difference is, as you alluded to, how many games does he have in his career? And he does pop this much. There's a reason why that is. Those stars come in, and you know what? Maybe it's because I'm sick and tired of this Ben Simmons garbage here, but there's a mental side of sports. And this kid has been scratched. We don't need you right now. You're too young right now. He gets his number called, and he says, screw you. Flips the bird. I'm going to go dominate. The difference between some of these other younger players, which is the normal way, struggling early, not being able to produce right off the bat, that's normal. It doesn't mean you stink. It separates you, though, from players like this that have a rare skill set. This kid is an actual stud. I'm not overreacting.
No,
He's
you're
going
not.
to take over this damn league.
I'm laughing too because I went back. They're doing on Sportsnet's YouTube channel. They're doing watch the games with Steve.
Oh, I'll watch with Steve.
Steve Dangle, when he scored that goal and Caulfield scored that goal, goes, Nothing even like react, kid. Get him a Red Bull. Get him something. Like, come on. You just scored in game 6 of the semifinal to go to the Stanley Cup. You know,
That's what happens when you know you're going to do it. When you know you're going to do it.
And if you can't tell, like I remember watching him with, you know, in World Juniors and things like, if you can't tell how confident he is, you know, and not only that, but like, who else maybe not who else do you remember? Because I'm not going to go back that far. Like, obviously, I think Gretzky was on a level where, yes, people were calling him things.
No, I don't
know,
believe you.
I think the great one thing came up when he was a kid, for crying out loud. But like, nonetheless, they're already on. He's got 25 NHL games, 10 regular season, this playoff run. And when he scores, the Canadian broadcasts are actually saying "Goal Caulfield." He's got a nickname.
Did you hear PK? Did you hear PK Subban by any chance or no?
I saw something about it. I didn't click on it because it was a little late.
He was on with Stephen A. Smith for ESPN, yes. Right? And
which, by the way, good get for ESPN if he's going to pop on more often is to have PK Subban. He's a great personality.
Oh, yeah. I think they're doing a good job at just forming everyone in general there. But one of the things, Stephen A. basically like, all right, Montreal, your old team, what's going on here in Montreal? And he goes, oh, man, this new kid, Coley Caulfield. Yeah. He said the name wrong. He called him Cole Caulfieldy or something. I'm like, dude, get the name right, man. Like, how this kid's a stud. How you going to screw this up? Now, I didn't know if he was kind of being, like, facetious about it or hitting him with a nickname or whatever, but you'd think he would know his name. I mean, it genuinely felt like he didn't know his name.
You know what's really funny? I'm going to tie into this, too, because for as much as they are also using Goal Caulfield on broadcasts, like, legitimately.
That might be a Barstool thing with a T-shirt, I think.
Well, it is a T-shirt, but, like, they're actually like, he's saying it. You can tell. That's, like, they're using it on the broadcast. I know it's a T-shirt thing, but he's calling him that now. So, like, it's the whole thing is sticking with him.
Well, that's like Johnny Hockey. I remember it's like, you know, it just came and stuck, and now it's what it is. Now, Johnny Football had a big role in that at the time.
That was timing is everything because Johnny Football was a huge thing. And look, all respect to Johnny Hockey, our friend of the show here. But, you know, where was I going? Oh, the J.J. Watt thing, too. Like, J.J. Watt's this kid's biggest fan.
It's great for hockey.
Oh,
yeah, it's great.
Sure.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Now imagine, because I just saw something earlier today about, speaking of which, like, good for hockey, not good for hockey, because the ESPN thing and the fact that they're talking about that a little bit, it probably can't come soon enough, because somebody even said NBC's not even advertising this anymore, it seems like. And you're putting clinching games on the USA Network and stuff like that. Like,
they've always done that, which pisses me
I
off.
know, but nonetheless, it's like,
well,
you know, it's going to be. I can't wait to see what it turns into from a broadcast standpoint, because it should get bigger and better with this network.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Now, how big do you think? Because I was thinking market size. Now, Montreal being in it is monstrous, because you're getting Canada no matter what, because they love the sport. But having a Canadian team, I think, intensifies it. So you're good on that angle. If the Islanders were to make it, it's a New York market. But is it really though? Like, if it was, do you think the NHL thinks, like, damn, we missed out on a New York-Montreal market? Or because it's Long Island and it's the Islanders, they don't really feel that way? And I know Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. They have a passionate little run right now, but, you know, that's not a big-time hockey market. So how do you think the league is viewing the parties involved? Now, they got one of the best teams in hockey, which can't hurt in Tampa Bay. But market-wise, you think they think, all right, it could be worse? You could have had Bruins Habs, by the way, in the Stanley Cup Finals, which just would have been insane.
Can I defer back to the previous series and just say even that would have been better if you had Vegas, Montreal in the final? Because
so you think Vegas, Montreal would be better
I think Vegas would generate more buzz because, A, the building's ridiculous. Like, the show they put on, not only that, but I don't even know. Have they really been televising that type of stuff? Like, remember their first year in the playoff, like the first year they were in existence, and they get to the Stanley Cup Final, and they showed in its entirety the pregame.
I don't think they do it to the same level anymore.
No, but would they have in the Stanley Cup Final, though? I think they could have. And
probably.
That's the difference. And it's like, that whole thing is just out of this world phenomenal, what they put on. It defines Vegas perfectly, because it's all about the showmanship and things like that. Like, look at what the entertainment value that you add to something that's already supposed to be entertaining, right? Like, there's just it takes it to a new level. But that being said, I mean, Tampa's thing, like I saw a little bit of what Tampa was doing last night. It was cool, but I don't know if the market screams, national viewership. It, maybe, I wonder if it would on a different network. I wonder if on the other networks, if they could make these places and these teams that have talent and say it's better, like this is the teams you should be paying attention to. Like over the course of time, even if it's not a sexy market like we get used to talking about when it comes to these teams that we're not used to seeing, you start to build up this idea that this is where the success happens in the league, though. This is who goes on runs regularly, and you start to get used to that. Like, I'm trying to think of a good one that I can refer to an extent, like in any sport for that matter. But could you say that to an extent about like in the NBA about Cleveland, for example, that when they get a star player, now you do turn your attention to a Cleveland.
The NBA is a little different though.
Well,
just because
the NBA is an individualized sport too. That's the difference.
Was 04? Call me crazy. Was 04 Calgary and Tampa?
Yes. No, it was
those markets. With all due respect, like that sucks. That sucks. If I'm the NHL, I'm like pissed.
But here's the thing. I think that you're right on half of it because at the time, Tampa wasn't a market for it. Calgary probably got the benefit of you're a Canadian team. So, yes, you've got Canada. The U.S. side, though, I don't know about. But, yeah.
Yeah, but like Calgary's passionate, but it's small. I'm thinking but you're right. In terms of Canada, all of Canada is going to probably support a Canadian team and all. But it's just an interesting perspective. But as we kind of wrap up the show here, I do want to get your thoughts on this series. So here we have it, right? We have Lightning. We have the Habs. If you could take down the Vegas Golden Knights in a 7-game series, I think you can take it's not impossible. I'm not ruling the Habs out, but if I'm just, objectively looking here, one team is significantly more stacked. When has that stopped the Habs? It hasn't to this point. I'm personally pulling for the Habs, rooting for the Habs. I want them to win. I love them. Super fun. I think Tampa might have a little too much in the tank, though. Because the difference between Vegas is now you have the goaltending with the powerful house team in front of them in Tampa Bay, while you had an opportunity in that goalie matchup where that was your advantage. Is that the advantage? It could be on one night, could not be on the other. But, look, the Lightning are stacked for a reason. I think they're going to do it, but I'm rooting for the Habs, and I'm not ruling them out.
I'm definitely not ruling the Habs out, and I'm very much with you because let's put it this way, this is where I'm at with this point. You see my T-shirt,
Ooh, yes. I like that. That's a nice item.
Yeah, there you go. So you see the.
I wish I used my. I have a Calgary beautiful coffee mug from when I visited.
I saw it on Coffee with Brodes the other day.
Yeah, it's a nice item. Nice, a little heavy. That's one big flaw in a coffee mug. A little heavy, but I'll do it anyway. Go ahead. You're more important than my coffee mug.
I got the T-shirt on. I was at a party last night. It was a buddy's 30th birthday. And while we were there, a couple other buddies of mine who we all went to school together, things like that. He does what he does when it comes to going to something where it's a social gathering and bring your own whatever. So he got
a little banged up.
No. He just he comes with the 6-pack of Molson. So I turn around and I turn around and I said, you know what? The Canadiens are in the Stanley Cup final. I think I got to do that. So I end up having one as well.
Nice.
So there you go.
Dude, you're so funny. You're so funny. I remember when I was working at 97.3, you came on for like a Flyers hit, whatever, it was during the season.
Yeah.
And then we went to commercial break, and I was like, Gil, check this out. Like, you sent me a picture from the night before watching the Flyers or whatever, and you had like a 6-pack of Molson or just case of Molson or whatever.
I said, like, thank you. I texted you. I had the Molson
and I'm like,
after the Montreal series.
I love hockey, and I love everything about the sport, Canada, this and that. And I'm like, this is Durso. And it's like it was just maybe like a box of Molson from when you had before or whatever. And he's like, dude, that's amazing. Durso's great. And I'm like only Durso, I got to get my Canadian beers just because I love hockey so much. I love it. I love the commitment. It's fucking hilarious, man.
The funny part is, like, I'm not typically, Molson's not my number one because right now in the fridge is the Labatt's, but.
Labatt's, they're such a tool. I love it. You go Labatt's. Like, I would never in a million. I love it. I go to the beer. I'll go to the. I can't. I'll go get some Yards Pale Ales, a nice Philadelphia beer. Here you come with your Labatt's and your Molsons. You're fucking great. I love it.
Anyway. How do we get back on the rails?
I don't know.
That one?
So anyway, I think Tampa Bay.
Here's my thing, okay? So here's really where my thing is with this series. I'm with you. I'd love to see Montreal do it. Here's the thing for me, okay? Truthfully, because you actually mentioned this a little earlier. I'm the type of person who wants to see stuff that I don't see every day. And it's been, let's just say, the last time Montreal won the Stanley Cup, which was the last time a team from Canada won the Stanley Cup, you weren't born yet, and I was the grand old age of 1.
Right.
So I think it's time. I think it would be cool to see, and that's why I'd love to see it. I do think Tampa's a better team. I think, you know what? I remember telling you, I think, when we were talking about the semifinal series, that for Montreal to have a shot, it couldn't go back to Montreal 2-0.
Right.
I still think that's important, but I think another important factor here, truthfully, and I almost felt this way with the Tampa Islander series too. If Tampa gets to a third win, if they go up 3-0, I don't want to have to play them in a closeout game, especially with the way Vasilevsky's played in those closeout games.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't want to have to deal with it. So I think that if it's going to happen from Montreal, it's going to happen in 6, because I think it's very, we're both Flyer people, so we kind of know the history of it as much as anything. And the story with the first Flyer Cup winning team in 74 was, if it had to go back to Boston for a Game 7, they were not going to win that game.
I remember that like it's yesterday.
So, yeah, sure you do. but it had to happen in 6 because it wasn't going to happen in 7. And funny enough, the Flyers at that time had an elite goaltender who went on to be a Hall of Famer. A lot of people have heard of him. His name's Bernie. And and he was outstanding and didn't allow a goal in that game, and that's how they won. That might be what you need from Carey Price if you're up 3-2 in a series going to Game 6 if you're Montreal. And if it's 3 whatever the other way, I don't feel good about it. I have Tampa in 7.
Oh, Tampa! Look, if you're telling me this series goes 7 and that's what we get, and the Habs end up falling or whatever, like I'm very appreciative, as long as the games aren't 4-1, 6-1, 3-0. Like we saw real quickly, Vegas, like, what was the score? Or no, I'm sorry. That was the
8-0 Tampa game.
Yeah, Tampa Bay just got, like, and then the next game, it's, you throw it away. It's only 1 loss or whatever. But, I think this is going to be competitive. I don't think it's going to be, in terms of each game, like, it might not be a long series, but it's going to be competitive.
The goaltenders are too good to not make it that way.
Exactly.
And get ready for the 2-1, 3-2 style games. You're going to get a lot of that. And this is the thing. I've seen, I don't know how many times, the Montreal predictions, they post like ESPN's list, right? Oh, only 2 people picked Montreal to win this series. Only 1 picked Montreal. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to, at some point in time, like, there's got to be a respect level here for who got this far, even though nobody expected it. This is not going to be an easy series. This is not going to be one that goes quickly, to me anyway. And if it does, then I will be surprised by it, because I really think that Montreal is on a roll right now and knows they're playing with house money. Like I said, that I think that they're going to try to make this as interesting as possible. I think, as much as I still think Tampa is the better team on paper and probably will be the team that comes away with this thing. And like I said earlier, I think they need to come away with it, because it's not going to be the same team next year with the cap. So they might need to do it now if they want to win multiple cups with this core. And yet I can't overlook Montreal, and I can't overlook what they've done so far, and I can't overlook the star power that Cole Caulfield has on top of Carey Price and Shea Weber and all these guys who, from 10 years ago that we said were superstars then, that are still getting it done now somehow. Like, I can't overlook it. I've been ridiculously high on this team. I know from like the end of round 1, it's paying off for me so far. I'm not sleeping on them. I can't.
I agree with you. I'm looking forward to it, dude. I can't wait. I got the goosebumps now.
I can't wait for the amount of shows we're going to be doing in the coming weeks.
I was going to say, now that the Sixers broke my heart and all, it's like I'm not as distracted with them because they stink and Ben Simmons needs to get fired out of this city instantly. Now it's all hockey, baby, and I love it. So, because the Phillies blow, too. Welcome to Philadelphia. Flyers stink as well, and we don't know what the Eagles are. I can't wait for the Stanley Cup Finals, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.